A group of volunteers over a year and a half put together a shopping list of improvements and repairs that are needed at McAllen schools. The tally, $440 million dollars. That's the report. And this issue might be going to voters in McAllen to say yay or nay to this big shopping list. Joining us on 710 KURV to talk about some of the improvements needed at the school district is the superintendent for McAllen Schools, Dr. James Ponce. Dr. James, welcome back to the show. What would you say if you can encapsulate or try to sell this quickly in just a few minutes, like give the elevator speech? What would you say to voters that are taking a step back going, whoa, $440 million bucks, that translates into so much in, an annual expenditure in taxes? That's just a little too much.
I would tell them that we were very thorough and had a widespread committee that really looked at it to ensure that, one, we were very transparent, and two, that we were looking at absolute needs. This wasn't a wish list, and that we were also looking to bring equity throughout the district for a very long time into the future.
Absolute needs, the definition of that is always relative. What is defined as a need for one would be defined as a want by somebody else. Now, how do you open things up for people to examine and say, you know what, yes to this, no to that, yes to this, no to that? And is it possible to split this thing up into a piecemeal approach?
Well, there's a lot of the ways to look at it. What we did ask the FFAC to do, the committee, is to take a look at it from one. We looked at a Jacobs report, an engineering report, and they looked at all of the elements from the roof to the floor and everything in between. And then we had surveys conducted also to figure out not only do we want to bring them up to what they were when they were built, but what does it mean for a school to look going forward? So when we put all those elements together, they came up, and this is a broad-based community group, came up with that, with what they said, this is what we need. And then they presented that to us, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. But that's why when we look at it, if they look at the members of the community that were on this group, you could see that there's a pretty broad base, and they took a long time. I mean, this is 18 months in the works, so we just didn't do this 3 weeks ago. So everybody really filtered through, and we really, really worked on knowing that it was going to be a big number. And when we had that big number, people would have confidence that we did our due diligence.
Yeah, the big number, some would say, is a result of kicking the can down the road year after year, and it's the way the payment and the upgrades are structured within the budget formulation. Is there a way to revamp that, where you say, okay, depreciation here, we have a priority list over there, and we will take a project at a time. Every couple of years, we will pay for something new. And if necessary right now, just pay for what must absolutely be torn down and rebuilt right now, and restructure the payment formula for buildings, for structures, for upgrades, because it seems to me that you don't have that right now, that type of system.
No, well, what happened was age. I think when they looked at it really, and that's what some of the questions were, well, how did we get here? And people were thinking that we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. But the age of our buildings is what really starts to catch up with us. 40% of our buildings are 40 years or older. And then you just go down the line and figure out that at some point, the way the budget is structured currently, there's not a new construction kind of line item. That's why the bonds become a mechanism to be able to finance school improvements. Yes, if you look around, that's been historically the way that communities are able to improve their schools, whether it's through building new schools or whether it's through refurbishing their existing schools. So when you look at it, there's a lot of ways to slice it. The base numbers are what they are, and we're actually pursuing different options. And we presented another option on Monday that potentially would then take a depreciation fund out of a separate, what they call the tax ratification election. And there's 13 cents that we're allowed there. So we're looking at that combination to allow $10 million on a yearly basis that would allow us to take care of what is formerly bond projects would now be out of that that 10 million. So we're looking at different ways to make this happen for us over the next. A lot of the construction will probably happen over the next 5 to 8 years. But then beyond that 5 to 8 years, we know that if we can put $10 million into
those structures are going to need upkeep, and exactly, those structures are going to age. They need upkeep as well. We don't want to find ourselves in the same situation 30 years from now. Joining us on 710 KURV, Dr. James Ponce from McAllen ISD.
Yeah, Dr. Ponce, Tim Sullivan here, and you make some good arguments. I mean, persuasive arguments, and I'm sure most folks understand the need, obviously, but then they're looking at their household budget. They're looking at reality and say, as much as I'd like to, as much as the McAllen ISD needs these projects, new buildings, classrooms, whatnot, I can't afford it. And again, any way to ease, or if you could elaborate it on this, any way to ease the sudden shock on the pocketbook here.
And we're trying to find any way to do that. The way it's coming out is that's basically the number that we're looking at. And we understand that, and I know that was going to be part of when we were putting this project out. That was going to be part of the conversation. So what we're doing is saying, okay, we understand that that's part of the conversation, but we feel that we have a case that would just persuade you to say, I understand this is going to be going to hit me in the pocketbook, but that the investment in the schools and the investment in it would be an investment in the schools, an investment in our children primarily, and then also an investment in McAllen, so that we would actually then see the benefits and the residual of what this would bring to our community in general.
We're trying to see if, and Serge alluded to this too, can there be a change in this funding formula at all?
The changes would be that we would drop the projects down. And that was why we charged the FFAC to say, give us the number that would put us at a place, and within the project structures that would put us in a place to be able to move forward and move forward quickly. And that's what it came back with. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can put whatever number you want, but is it going to give us a long-term solution? And that's what
you're in between a rock and a hard place, and the homeowner is in between a rock and a hard place with the finances and.
I understood, and for the average price home, the average valuation, I believe in McAllen, I think the average sale price is like $120,000. That's an extra $400 every year that has to be paid by that homeowner in McAllen. Are you? Now, this issue is going to be on the May ballot, right, sir?
That's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
We want to bring it to make the call here within the next 2 weeks.
Are you planning of having some public forums or maybe a public discussion?
Well, we've had the open forums. We've extended an extra one this month. Part of the discussion and forum we had throughout this 18 months, we were out in the community. We were out in the schools. As I mentioned, the 150 so members are people living in our communities also. So it hasn't been without vetting, without people in the community stating their cases. So we feel we've done some work there that should give confidence to what we're trying to accomplish.
I'm sure it's just the beginning of the discussion. There's plenty of room between here and Election Day. Dr. Ponce, thank you for your time. That's Dr. James Ponce from McAllen ISD joining us on 710 KURV.